Have you ever gone sofa shopping and you sat on a sofa and it just felt like heaven? And then you've gone to another shop, you've sat on another sofa. That kind of just looks like the same design, probably even the same fabric, but just felt completely off. Today we're going to be talking about upholstery and the importance of upholstery in furniture making. So upholstery is basically attaching fabric and padding and cushion to a furniture frame, or rather to a wooden frame, to give it its outer look, or rather its exterior look, which is the most important when it comes to the aesthetic of your furniture and just how the furniture sits in the room that you're going to be placing it. The person who does upholstery is called upholsterer. Let me tell you guys, for me, titles are really important. And I like to know. So the person who does upholstery is called what? So that we just don't call everybody fundi. Not everybody is a fundi. The first thing that we need to do in upholstery is first to examine the frame of the sofa. Let's assume you're making a sofa. That's just basically what you're going to be working on. So for you to attach this padding, this spring, this elasticity and foaming to a frame, the frame has to be done. So first you need to examine the frame to make sure that it's framed properly, once it's formed, it's going to become the design that you had in mind, because you can't frame a box and then expect it to be curvy. You have to make sure that the frame itself is curvy. So the frame has to be right. The next thing you do is to add webbing or springs. We have different ways of adding elasticity to a sofa and some sort of suspension. And I'm going to be showing you two different ways. There's this is called webbing. It's basically just an elastic. Oh, it's actually really hard to pull. And it should be, because you're going to be sitting on it. If it's loose and you're just going to sink into the sofa. So this adds elasticity and suspension to your sofa. And you can use this, which is called webbing, or you can use the S spring. This is how an S spring looks like. So you usually just straighten it like this and you put it at the sitting part of the sofa. You just attach it like in lines like this at the sitting part of the sofa. And this is like on the frame, not on the cushion. So once you have done the webbing or the spring, the S spring on the sofa, the next thing you need to do is to do the foaming. And there are different ways of doing foaming, or rather there are different kinds of foams. And in the market, there are some really nice quality and some really not nice quality. So I'm going to be showing you different types of foams and just what the difference looks like. So these are two foams that are in the market that are known the same. This is super high density and this is super high density. It comes in green color and it comes in different inches. It can be 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 up to 5 inches. And these are just two different kinds of. These are two of the same kind of foam, but the quality is very different. If you look at this, I've made quite a lot of holes with my nails. Like I usually just do this and it just goes right in. So that can tell you that this is not a very good quality foam. But what we use is this. This is super high density foam, and we buy it straight from Vitafoam. And even if you poke it, it will not give any, as you can see, I've not made any hole on it. Both sides. So this is a really good foam. So when you're buying foams, or rather when you're buying furniture, it is important to ask, where do you get your foams from? And it's important to actually visit the workshop and touch the foams yourself, because you'll find that they're working on different furniture. So you can actually touch the foam of what they are working on and just try and put holes on it to just see whether the foam is good. So we have the super high density foam. We have the high density premium, which is also like the second best foam. This is the high density premium. After that, we have the super high density premium, which is what we use. This is about like maybe 2 inches, but we use it in 5 inches. And then we have the 45 density premium, and then we have 50 density. This is like sitting on clouds. Really, it really feels like that. It feels like sitting on clouds. Dependent on, of course, the budget of the client, they get to choose what foam to use, but our standard one is super high density premium. This is what we use when we quote for you. This is what we are quoting for. I'm just going to be showing you how we form our sofas. So this is the super high density premium in 5 inches. So all our sofas will have this. This is 5 inches, and then on top of that we will put a 1 inch on top just to make this 6 inches, and then on top of that we will wrap it with what we call Dacron, just so that the corners are not sharp. It makes it just a little bit curvy, something like that. So that's how we will form all our sofas. So these are basically the cushions of our sofa. And then after that, we'll put like a pocket or lining on it. And then now the fabric comes on top. The reason why we put the pocket on this is that on the day that you need to clean your sofa, you're not left with this on top of your seat, but you're left with something. We usually put like a white or a black lining on this, or rather pocket on this, just so that if you need to clean your fabric, then you can take out the cushion covers and just be left with something that looks neat. There's also another way of doing your foam. Instead of having foam, you can do what we call pocket springs. These are pocket springs. So for you to use pocket spring on your cushion, you would need a certain layer of foam, then the pocket springs, and then another layer of foam. For me, if I was to choose, I would choose the foams any day, because I feel like just foams, like they're easy to replace than springs. Springs can easily lose their elasticity, as you can see, but also depends with the quality of the spring. But for me, any day I would go with foam, so long as the foam is really high quality. The next thing is the fabric, and the fabric really is the most important element of the furniture, because it's really just the comfort of the furniture as well as the aesthetics of the sofa. If you choose a fabric that looks bad, it doesn't matter how great the frame was, it doesn't matter how great the design was. If the fabric is off, then the whole thing really just looks off. So for us, one of the things that we encourage our clients is to choose fabrics that work for the function of the furniture. If you're making a sofa for an indoor space, then please choose fabric that is soft, fabric that is smooth to touch, smooth against your skin surface. If you're using the furniture for a place like that is a public space, like maybe a restaurant, a spa, then use something that is either wipeable, like maybe leather or pleather. Use something that has outdoor, like an outdoor fabric that is water resistant, or something that would be easily wiped. One of the greatest steps or other things to observe when you're doing upholstery with and the specific part for fabric is to observe the fabric patterns and orientation. Assuming I was using fabric that is patterned, not a plain one like this chair, but assuming I was using something that has pattern, it is important to make sure that the pattern of the chair, let's assume the pattern at the back of the sofa goes with the pattern on the sitting area. So for us, we try as much as possible to observe the pattern flow and the pattern orientation on every piece that we make, because we don't want things that don't look cohesive. We don't want furniture to be sitting in your place and you're just like, especially for people who have OCD, just like, there's just something off with that chair, and just because the pattern is not flowing properly. The other thing that we do is to minimize the joints, to minimize the sewing parts, just so that you cannot see joints as visibly as you would. So how you do this is we conceal the staples, we conceal the seams, and we use this by either a piping, and a piping is something like this, just so that you don't get to see. This is what piping is. Just so that you don't get to see the seams and the pattern and the joints of the fabric, so that your furniture always looks polished and have a beautiful look at the end of the day. So the process of upholstery can take something between 2 to 7 days. If I'm making something like this is probably like a day to do upholstery, to do the whole step of webbing, foaming, and of course putting the fabric. But also it depends with how big the order is, or what is the furniture piece that you're making. The most important thing to note is that fabric is a make or break of your furniture piece. It is the thing that determines whether the thing that looks good is whether your pieces look good in the spaces that you're going to put them in. But over and above the fabric, let's be very keen in considering what is used inside of the sofa. What is the skeleton of the sofa? What is the meats of the sofa? Because that is where comfort comes in. You want something that is aesthetically pleasing and not sacrificing the comfort of the furniture.